How does the candid presentation of struggle in communications about solutions to health-related problems affect our intentions to adopt the healthy behavior required to achieve our health goals? How does the presentation of struggle in health communications affect our confidence and our hopefulness about being able to successfully adopt healthy behaviors? These are the questions I'm looking to answer through my research. The concept of struggle has sparsely been defined in the academic literature, but it seems worthy of attention, particularly in the context of honest communications about health. So what do we mean by struggle? Outside of the health communication literature, in a paper about business ethics, Mule-Kaptein offers a good working definition. He proposes that struggle, which can be psychological or physical, is defined by 4 characteristics. 1. An object at stake is deemed valuable. 2. The object of value is not yet realized or guaranteed. 3. The risk of losing or not being able to realize something valuable is created by adversarial or opposing forces. These could be human opponents, ideologies, or internal thoughts. And 4. Great sustained effort is required to deal with those opposing forces. So again, the question is, how does the presentation of struggle in health narratives impact our perceptions, our motivations, and our behaviors? My research aimed to address this question in the context of weight loss goals. How the presentation of struggle in a weight loss narrative on social media impacts relatability to the social media author, motivation to adopt the author's weight loss strategies, and hopefulness and confidence around achieving one's own weight loss goal. To give you a bit of context, studies have shown that social media, including the blogosphere, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, are used to share weight loss attempts. In fact, in 2019, the hashtag #WeightLossJourney appeared on over 34 million Instagram posts. So my research explored 2 aspects of social media narratives about weight loss. The first is the presentation of struggle. In other words, did the author mention or omit obstacles faced in the pursuit of their weight loss goal? And the second is goal outcome, whether the author achieved, failed, or is still working on their goal. I looked at the impact of these 2 factors on women's perceived similarity to the social media author, their self-efficacy, in other words, their confidence in their ability to use the author's weight loss strategy to achieve their own goal, feelings of hopefulness about achieving the goal, and intention to adopt the author's weight loss strategies. I used 2 main theories to form my hypotheses. I used social cognitive theory to predict that seeing a social media author model the achievement of their weight loss goal leads to greater incentive to imitate the model's weight loss strategies than seeing the author fail. Also, to predict that the higher your self-efficacy, the more likely you are to imitate the author's strategies. And the more similar the author is to you, the more likely you are to imitate them. The last prediction comes from research on underdog narratives, which suggests that seeing films that portray an underdog who encounters obstacles and overcomes these obstacles produces hopefulness in viewers, which energizes viewers into action, which may lead to an intention to adopt that character's behavior. I conducted an experiment to test these predictions among a national sample of women in the U.S. In part 1, I presented participants with a simulated Instagram post where a woman discusses her weight loss journey. In part 2, I presented participants with simulated Instagram feeds, so multiple posts about the Instagram author's life and her weight loss journey. In each of the studies, 2 weight loss strategies were proposed: a specific diet strategy around cutting out bad carbs, and a strategy around doing high-intensity cardio multiple times per week. Participants in the study were women who had at some point tried to manage their weight. And so I measured personal struggle with weight loss as another factor that may influence their response to the Instagram posts. Now, getting into the findings, these studies may pose more questions than they answer, but they pose some important ones. The first study suggests that high strugglers, participants who indicated a high amount of personal struggle with past weight loss attempts, perceive themselves as more similar to Instagram authors who failed their weight loss goal, regardless of whether or not the author mentioned struggle. This makes sense because failing without mentioning struggle can still imply struggle. Low strugglers, on the other hand, perceive themselves as more similar to the author who achieved their goal, regardless of the indication of struggle. In this case, it could be that even when the woman says she's achieved her goal without mentioning struggle, there is a perception that struggle is inherent to any weight loss journey. Study 2 suggests that high strugglers felt more hopeful in response to the author who achieved their weight loss goal, while low strugglers felt more hopeful in response to failure, regardless of whether or not struggle was mentioned. Perhaps the low strugglers had a mindset that produced a sense of competition with the Instagram author who failed her goal, and thus they were energized and hopeful about outperforming their competition. And perhaps this mindset involved being more concerned with avoiding failure than achieving success. Between the 4 tests of my predictions about participants' intention to adopt a weight loss strategy, only one test involving the motivation to use the intensive cardio strategy exhibited a direct relationship between the indication of struggle and intention to adopt the cardio plan. This relationship showed that the discussion of struggle in the author's weight loss journey produced greater intention to use the cardio plan to achieve their own weight loss goal. The other tests did not indicate a relationship, so further investigation and refinements to the sampling may yield more consistent results. One of the main findings across the 2 studies is that self-efficacy, or again, confidence in one's ability to perform a behavior to achieve a desired outcome, is central to whether or not an individual emulates a health strategy. What is less clear is how the indication of facing obstacles and the indication of whether the author has succeeded or failed interacts to impact self-efficacy, and further, how one's personal struggle interacts with these variables to impact self-efficacy and the intention to adopt the author's weight loss plan. So to summarize, the research suggests that high strugglers may relate more to failure, but are more hopeful when they see success, while low strugglers are more hopeful when they see failure, perhaps because they think they can do better than the author, while they relate more to success. But the key across the board is boosting confidence about one's ability to successfully use a health strategy to lead to a desirable health outcome. This seems to be most important in actually promoting the adoption of healthy behaviors. But it is necessary to understand more definitively what leads to this boost in confidence. Does reading about someone who overcomes struggle impact one's confidence, and under what circumstances? Further research should try and answer the questions: to what extent should health promotion messages discuss struggle? Should these messages mention struggle, omit struggle, or focus instead on the ease of obtaining a health goal? Perhaps this depends on whether the health objective is familiar, like coping with anxiety, or novel, mitigating the spread of COVID-19, for example. Are there personality differences that may determine whether particular individuals are encouraged or discouraged by communications describing the struggle necessary to achieve a health objective? What are the effects of communications about struggle on actual behavior, as distinguished from the mere intention to act? Could communications about facing obstacles produce longer-term behavioral responses than communications that omit struggle or talk about the ease of performing certain health behaviors? One might consider how the concept of struggle relates to our current health crisis, and particularly communications around the virus in the U.S. Mitigating the effects of COVID requires sacrifices, inconveniences, and disruptions, such as school and business closures, social distancing, and wearing masks. How affected are candid communications about the struggle involved in fighting COVID, particularly in the face of contrary communications suggesting that the disease will disappear without struggle? Whether we are discussing social media posts, health advertisements, or PSAs about weight loss, COVID, or about coping with anxiety or other mental health issues, I think it is important to consider how messaging around struggle can influence our well-being and our health choices in a positive way. Thank you.